Hey folks, Fernando doing another video for the More Survivalists, and in this case, stay for this video. It is a reaction of a video of an instance of a police officer in plain clothes walking back home after his service, and he's attacked by a couple robbers that intercept him on the street. So there's a bunch of little lessons here to take notice and keep in mind. A very good reaction from this federal police officer from La Matanza, which ironically means the slaughter, but La Matanza is a damn dangerous place in Buenos Aires, and many of these videos that I analyze take place here. So I'll let it run first, and then we'll go slowly, little by little, seeing what we can see here. First of all, you see definitely you have a motorcycle, two guys, never good. That's usually a bad sign. He's already drawing the gun and pointing it at the officer. The officer raises his hand like saying, yeah, sure, here you go, here's my wallet, here's my cell phone, and instead he brings out his Bersa Thunder 9mm and makes 3 shots, of which one impacts center of mass with your plain old Full Metal Jacket 9mm, yet he goes down like a sack of potatoes. He takes aim at the motorcycle that it's going, it's escaping right now, but because of all the politics involved in Argentina, shooting criminals, it's really a dangerous thing, even if you are an officer doing your job. So he restrains himself from pulling the trigger, even though he probably gave like an order like police stop, whatever. Politically in Argentina, they are in favor of criminals, not law-abiding citizens or police officers, because we have a commie socialist government in Argentina, a bunch of corrupt bastards running the country that make no they don't disguise it whatsoever. They are the political party of the left. They are the political party of criminals and murderers and rapists, and they support them every chance they get. That's why they get their votes. It's like 99% of convicts and criminals vote for the Kirchner mafia. So anyway, that's just what's happening. But fortunately, at least it's one of these guys less in the street. Unfortunately, it could have been 2, but beggars can be choosers, the saying goes, right? Okay, let's go little by little, several things here. And folks, a lot of the stuff that I'm gonna be mentioning here, it's directly found in Street Survival Skills, my latest book, which is full of these little crappy drawings of mine, but I explain all of this all the time. Pretty much every single thing that I'm going to be explaining here, I've explained already in the book. And I've done this already because this happens pretty frequently. It gets to a point where you're repeating kind of all the same concepts. And I'm repeating the same concepts because they obviously work. Not for me, but for absolutely everyone that has been in these situations. You kind of always see the same thing. The stuff that you definitely want to incorporate into your own safety and security. So, one of the first things I mentioned in the book, in my channel in general, and this is pretty much common sense, is awareness. You're always with your head on a swivel, looking around and checking things out. He's a police officer in Argentina. He knows what's going on, so he is doing that. Little tip though here: whenever you get the chance, always walk against traffic. That's gonna be doing a few things for you. It's gonna be allowing you to see whatever is heading in your direction ahead of time, and it's not forcing you to always check your back all the time for whatever incoming vehicle is heading your way. Motorcycle, 2 people in a motorcycle. I think the statistic is like 70% or 80% of these in the capital, like in downtown Buenos Aires, like 70 or 80% of those are always criminals. So you're pretty much guaranteed that if it's nighttime or even during the day, a motorcycle with 2 people, it's usually a very bad idea. Now, as I was saying before, you walk in against traffic, but what happens if someone, these criminals just see you from this corner and they just go and, take a wrong turn and go against traffic? Well, at the very least, that someone is going against traffic on your back. That should raise your red flag even more so. So the advice of going against traffic still sound, in my opinion. Also, whenever you get the chance, you see how there's a street here with the 2 sidewalks. Whenever you can choose the one that gives you the more cover. Either because of trees, because of some urban construction, benches, trash cans, even just parked vehicles on one of those sides. That's gonna be making it harder for the one that's gonna be attacking you from the streets to get to you. It may be a lunatic with a knife. It may be someone coming at you with a gun. But whenever you have anything that it's blocking that, it's stuff that's going to be making things difficult for the attacker. It's stuff that you could actually use for cover and to run around if you have to. So always keep those things in mind. Eventually it gets to a point where you do these things naturally and you almost don't realize it anymore. But at first, for the first few years, I guess, you have to mentally make these decisions that I explain in my book, and I'm explaining right here as well, okay? So he sees it, he realizes, he knows it's going on, right? And as soon as he does that, he is going to be doing something that he obviously mentally trained, but was not trained in the police academy to do, which is say this, okay, relax, I'll give you my wallet, I'll give you my cell phone. That is something that's the kind of thing you learn in good defensive shooting classes, not the kind of thing you're going to be taught in police academy, because that's not really your line of work, like tricking an attacker into thinking you've given up. It's really rarely the thing where the idea is you are in uniform, and there's little stupid talking heads in the news saying that he should have warned them with stop police or something like that. Look, if you're being held at gunpoint, there's no warning anymore going on. You're not going to be saying stop police when they're pointing a gun at your face. You're going to be doing what he did, which is raise his hand like I'm surrendering and say, okay, here you go, take my wallet, take my cell phone. This does a number of things. So this is almost basically this is pure psychology at a level where you just give up, you surrender. Okay, take everything, don't hurt me. In the mind of your attacker, of this predator, you already lost. You already gave up. So he's no longer fighting you. He's just getting his reward. He's having his meal. He's going for the treasure, for the loot of his job, the crime that he just committed. He's just getting away, man. He's just going to be stuffing his pockets with stuff, which is what he really wants. So at that point, you gave up. So from this point onwards, it's going to be anything you do, any action you take, it's going to be a surprise. It's going to be surprising him, and it's going to be turning tables in terms of action-reaction. Action always beats reaction. Well, maybe not always, but usually, really scientifically, and there's a number of little tests you can do, but action mostly beats reaction. And that's what you see happening here. So the criminal is already thinking, okay, I'm just going to be picking my wallet, picking my cell phone, because these are now mine, and I'm going to be jumping back into the motorcycle and taking off, have a good time. Instead, he finds that he's presented a Versa Thunder 9mm, and he's given first 3 rounds of the ones that actually, there's only one that actually hits him, probably the first one, and he's hitting center of mass with every police officer is going to be carrying Full Metal Jacket 9mm. And you've heard so much crap about this one. Well, it is all about where you actually hit. So he hits, apparently by what I'm seeing here, and the hand of the guy he's hitting center of mass somewhere nice, something interesting around this area. So heart, spine, main blood vessels, anything that's going to be horrible getting shot at, he's getting shot right there. 9mm Full Metal Jacket just zipping through, but ruining your day very much so. The other rounds, probably, it's usually the first round that hits. Probably, the other 2 rounds, the ones that miss, probably were the second and third. So, yeah, I would say so. But see how efficient that is. He goes down right away, right? And he concentrates on the other guy. The motorcycle could just stop. The guy could just turn around and start shooting. You just don't know. But fortunately, he restrains himself from getting himself into legal problems, maybe getting fired, which happens all the time to police officers in Argentina doing their job, getting fired because of it. Commies, well, you know how this goes. Anyway, he advances a little bit. He should be a little bit more careful with that guy there on the floor, because he may still have the gun. He obviously still has the .32 revolver that he started the attack with, so he should be a little bit more careful about that gun not coming up and being shot at him, right? Anyway, still great job. A couple of things though here. When he surrenders, you see that he draws from appendix carry on the right side, right? You see that? So he draws from the appendix carry position. Here you go. Here's my wallet. No, in fact, you're getting the gun. I'm usually not a big fan of appendix carry. I will say though that in this case he's also carrying a big backpack that may well impair his ability to draw from a 4 o'clock position. So if that's the case, then that's perfect. If you actually realize that, hey, this backpack that I'm carrying when going back home from my service as an officer, this really impairs my ability to draw properly, so I'm going to be carrying appendix. That makes a lot of sense if that's what's happening here, which I bet it is. It wouldn't be easy to draw from the 4 o'clock position with that big backpack and those big winter clothes, the bigger jacket and all that. So he probably role played this stuff a bit, probably trained drawing it, and he knew what he was going to be doing if he found himself in this situation, which is perfectly understandable because living in Argentina, living in Buenos Aires, this is in fact very likely to happen to you, especially if you walk back home at night after in La Matanza of all places. So he probably thought about what he would be doing if this happens, and he ended up doing that. Now after shooting, he takes like a couple little steps, like jumping a little bit, which is kind of natural fighting improvised sort of thing. It is usually not the kind of thing you see being taught in classes, right? And there's a reason for that. Don't get me wrong, the guy acted perfectly and I'm super happy with its outcome. Here we're splitting hairs, but really what you want to be doing is not jumping, but walking, and not doing it backwards like he does here, but doing it diagonally. He takes just a couple of those short steps back, which serves him well here. But usually what you want to do is, instead of going straight in line, and this is again stuff that I explain in my book, when you just go straight in line, there's two things that could happen. First, you're more likely to trip and fall if you try walking backwards rather than walking in diagonal away from the thread. Usually gives you more distance as well. So first, you're likely to fall, and also you're staying in the same line of fire. So, for example, if I'm here and I just walk backwards, I'm just getting smaller. Any round that's hitting me center of mass, it's going to be hitting me anyway because I'm still in the same line of fire. Now, if I go diagonally, you're going to be hitting the Ninja Turtle over there, right? So if I do this, once I start shooting, you're going to be hitting something else if you shoot in that same line of fire. If I do this, you're still hitting me. So always walk diagonally away. And also keep in mind that if I'm being pointed at with a gun in someone holding a gun on the right, and I do this, I'm making things harder for him because I'm going in a less comfortable position. So if you have the choice of going diagonally to the right or left, someone pointing at you with a gun on his right hand, you want to go to his right, because if I'm holding it like I'm doing here with my right hand, it's much easier for me to adjust to the left doing this than doing this. Look how even, I've done this video already in Spanish, and still mechanically your body, it just feels more comfortable going to the left than going to the right when you are right-handed shooter. So if the guy goes in this direction, he's going away from that X that I want to avoid, and he's doing it in a direction that's less comfortable than picking him on the left. It's just a little bit more complicated. And always, it's in these little details that pile up. The more things you do right, the more of a chance of success you have. No one has 100% guarantee here on anything. This guy could have been dead on the street getting shot with that stupid 32 revolver that the criminal had. 32s have killed people in Argentina since I am of any awareness of any kind of crime going on. I've heard all my life of people getting shot and killed with 32. So it's around, and it's very lethal, it's no joke. So he could have ended up dead on the street. Fortunately, he did enough things right. He was lucky enough, of course, as well, so as to make it. But these things that I'm explaining here, all of these things usually work well, and the more of these things you do right, the greater chance of you succeeding and making out of this thing alive you have. Okay, folks? So remember this. This is why I always recommend my latest book, because I feel it's a more appropriate for this kind of thing. And someone mentioned in a previous video or conversation, it was actually a conversation that I had with a friend, why don't you mention your other books? I mentioned those quite as many times as well, but the Modern Survival Manual, Surviving Economic Collapse, and Bugging Out and Relocating is maybe the one I mentioned the least. But this one is the more appropriate to this kind of thing. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed the video, learned something, keep in mind, maybe help you if you ever find yourself in this kind of thing. As I was watching, crime in the United States, it's going through the roof. It's getting ridiculous, and it's getting bad. And people should be more careful, because that bar is, you know, they're raising the bar of how much stuff you're allowed to get away with. It's always getting, you know, more difficult out there. So see you in our next video, folks. Have an awesome day. Take care.